Hey everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of Fix My Coaster Layout. This is a collaboration between myself and Andrew from MickanMan's RCT station, where we take user-submitted layouts and offer suggestions on how to improve flow or realism or all sorts of other stuff. So in the first episode, we took a look at Skyrocket by Gustav Goblin, and we each took a stab at it. You can find the video for my attempt on the channel. But here we're taking a look at Andrew's attempt for this ride. So you can see Gustav's original layout over here, and here is Andrew's layout. A good deal longer, it looks like, than Gustav's, and still fitting in the same plot, kind of using those same square footage, I guess, which is a good attempt from a scenario play standpoint, and definitely something that Andrew had said he was going to focus on. So we've got some nice kind of swoopy corners here, as is sort of his style. Like this sort of trench dive that we've got here in the middle, and the way that the landscape comes down to sort of accept that dive through the middle. This little bit of airtime hills is kind of fun too, just to punctuate the curves sort of in the middle, and kind of taking at sort of this slower undulating pace. Obviously this is more scenario play arcade mode, so it's not running blocks. It's a little less realistic, but it still has that sort of nice flow to it. I think I especially like here this large curve out in front that sort of acts as part of the overall sign and entry marquee, because you've got your front sign, then the track with the kinetic movement here of the train, and then this spaceship scenery piece behind it, sort of echoing to that Skyrocket name. As far as theming goes, it's relatively simple in here, but it's done tastefully, I think, with a couple bushes, some of the cacti, definitely lowering the landscape where it's down low, so we do have supports at all the locations. The track isn't touching the ground, which is a key thing. A little bit of fence anarchy here, as we've talked about in some of our live streams, where we want kind of one fence typically, but it almost kind of seems like this is a pick and choose which fence you like best and then go with it. But pacing wise, the ride runs pretty well. It seems like a nice long ride. Let's check out our stats here, which I know is not something I do. So decent stats on that one. Mostly I was just curious about the length. It's not too much longer, 2,100 feet versus just over 2,000, but it feels a little longer. More drops, 9 versus 5, and a little bit of a tallest starting drop, because we have Gustav's here, which launches up this hill and sort of meanders its way down, whereas this one we've got a nice larger drop in the beginning, but a pretty cool look and a nice attempt. So very different from mine, as we kind of expected it would be, and that's part of the fun of this, is seeing how two kind of very different building styles can be interpreted within the game. So we'll continue to do this as we go through, but let's jump into today's ride and take a look at what we have to work with. QDude24 was kind enough to submit a full park, actually. This is Quintopia here. I'll give a little sneak peek here, but asked for two different layouts, and the one that we picked today is this one here. This is called Surfs Up, which is meant to be a premier coaster, as was at least how it was detailed in the email to us. So I'm going to take that and kind of latch onto that as I build it a little bit. You can see it's a pretty substantially long ride here. We've got the looping coaster track using the boosters here, and sort of this curvy meandering first bit. There's a block break here in the middle, and there's a secondary launch here with some fountains, which is kind of a neat effect here, and then some curves here at the end, and then a little bit of a wonky break run here with this S-bend in the middle of it. Maybe some pacing things that we're going to try and fix up here. Coaster track on the ground, of course, we're going to raise up and work on that. Now, my preference is to build this in like a sandbox mode, so I'm not really dealing with some of the other distractions and space around it. But my idea was still to build within a general overall shape, so that it could sit in this place in the kind of final design, maybe with some rework to some scenic and paths and things like that. So that's what we're going to do. So let's jump over to our sandbox mode and let's get started. We'll take a stab at this. Alrighty, so here is our layout from QDude moved over onto our sandbox map. What we're going to do here is grab a B&M track, and I only do this because It just makes it a little bit easier kind of for what we're going to do. You can change it back a little bit later to limb or kind of hack in some of that if you want a little later on. But for our purposes here, we're going to start like this. I'm going to start with a 4-tile station, and what we're going to do too is change the coaster trains over. Now, he said Premier, so we're going to go with a Premier Skyrocket model, and that means we're going to grab a single train here to start. We'll add this in a little later. With 3 cars per train using Space Case Premier Skyrocket 3. You can really use any of those that you want. Obviously, this is just for general scenic and just the general look of the ride. You can do whatever you want if you want to change it up, but this is kind of where I wanted to land. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on a swing launch. So rather than the kind of 2 launches here, we're going to still have the second one, but I want this first one to be a forwards, backwards, forwards launch. He did say specifically that this was inspired by Icebreaker, among other rides. So we're going to do that kind of swing launch hack, which this is actually an upcoming hack tutorial. So we're going to kind of learn a little bit of the start here. So first things first, we're going to turn the train into mini golf, and we're going to build the right-hand hole and then a 1 corner piece here. And then we're going to go right back to the twister coaster. Okay, so that just gets us over, and that's on our switch track. So let's grab a booster section. Let's shoot it up to, let's say, 49. So we'll do, say, 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll give it one more little kick at 54. All right, so we want to do sort of our little hill here, and we'll go kind of flat. And then what I want to do and different from this one here is we've got the straight vertical and then the curve vertical here, which can look okay, but in general, I don't think it looks great with both of them having this. And if we go full vertical on both sides, it ends up being awfully tall. So what I'm going to do instead is go vertical here, and then we're going to use the diving corner here and kind of make ourselves a nice little kind of starting turn like this. And that we can put over some water or something, so we kind of dive down towards that corner. So the idea really now is to get a nice flowing layout that's full of curves and can kind of work in a couple of different ways. So in my head here, we've got this reverse spike. So let's grab another ride here and let's do this real quick. Let's start with a little bit faster booster here. Let's make sure our clearances are on, which they are. And we're going to put it right up against. And then I'm going to go like this. And then let's go like this. And we're going to put that quarter loop in here, but we're actually going to remove some of those pieces here a little bit later on. Let's test it first and kind of see where we land on it. But that at least sets us up with the swing launch. So the idea is we go out of the station, come across, go up, go back, and then go up and again. Now, granted, we can't launch backwards, but we're going to simulate it. So this should set us up nicely to kind of loop around here. Let's see if we can jump back up a little bit. I'm going to frame that very nicely. All right, what are we at? 20 feet. Should work. Now what I'd like to do is kind of wrap this one as well and kind of get ourselves ready for the second launch. Now, one of the things I commented on this one is this is too long of a coaster. We are looking at a 3,500, 3,600 feet long coaster here, or foot long coaster, which is fine in general, but for a launch coaster, especially one of these, we're really kind of looking at two coasters in one, and kind of this is how I'm expecting this one to turn out. So realistically, this is probably going to be a little bit long. This is almost sort of the Velocicoaster of Premier at the moment, but let's give it a try. We'll see how we land and see where. But I want to get to that other launch here pretty fast. So let's go here and then That puts us right alongside the station. I did map out this as far as the station goes, so it's 4 tiles. We've got 2 on the entrance side and 1 on the exit side. That's kind of your base minimum, I would say, and then we'll call this our switch track. So we really don't want to intrude on those in particular. All right, so let's continue along here, and we'll kind of drop down a little bit, and let's see, how do we want to do this? I'm thinking we go nearly to the ground. We can always bank this a little strange if we want, or something like that, but let's also back out of here, put some block breaks in, because we want to cross under this, because we're going for that L-shaped layout, so we're going to kind of come across this way when we hit that side. All right, so let's see here. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and we can kind of swoop up, and then we get underneath here. We sure can. Let's keep this banked. This gets a little messy, for sure, but we're doing okay. So let's put a brake run here, because we want this to be a decent little brake run. So 6 maybe, and we can probably make this last one here a block, so then we'll clear that afterwards. All right, and then let's get a booster here. Let's start it out at 49, and then let's see how that goes. And then we'll put a little bit of space here just so I can have some space to work with on this side. So we've got sort of this half done, and now we're going to work on this half. All right, so let's do sort of the reverse of what we did for the first hill. And let's see here. We want to climb like this, maybe. Okay, so we can kind of land it there. Okay, and then go up this way. Unbank this, let's flatten. So what I want to do now actually is put in a roll. And inversions are totally acceptable on Premier Skyrockets, and I feel like this is a good variety piece here, especially with sort of our surf theme. And we got this sort of somewhat vertical spike, and we got the vertical climb here, so I don't think it's out of place to say that we'll do something like this. So let's start there at least. We could throw in more inversions, but I really don't think we need to. And let's see if this can fit. Yeah, it sort of nestles in there nicely. Okay. Now, this is a little bit short of a brake run. A little bit. Especially if we're doing, we'll call it 3 trains. But you would shoestring this section to brake run, and I would say it's probably maybe a little bit short, but we can work with that, I think. At least start there. The only thing we've got to do, I guess I already have these invisible. Make this visible if we want. Is fix up this hack right here. So we're going to come with our second piece, because we need to trick this basically into thinking it's got a block break. So like right now, if we start this will spawn and it will dispatch, but it's not going to make it over. So even if we have 3 trains here, we can spawn those, and they will go because it's a complete circuit, but we still want it to go back here. So we're going to grab this guy and bring down here. Where do we make these? We made these at 49 miles per hour. So let's do another booster here at 49. Okay, 1, 2. And then we can get rid of the rest of this. Okay. So what we want is us to kind of merge these in. So this first one here, let's rename these real quick. So this will be the main track, and this will be the spike track, just so that we get the right things on here. So let's select the bottom one here, which is spike track. As you can see, we're going to bring him up, and then we're going to actually change the order, so he's on top. Now we'll take this guy here, and we're going to bring him up. We're not going to change the order, so he's on bottom. So basically, we're creating a forwards merge and a reverse merge at the same time. So you don't necessarily need to know the how, you just need to know the why. So we're going to start there and see if we've done it right. So this should go up and shouldn't crest it entirely, although we might have gone too far. Look at that, we sure did. So let's adjust this just a little bit. We can back this off to 49. Let's give this a test and see what happens. There we go. That's sort of what we want. Is it going to go... There we go. Up our spike here. And then we have the stronger launch track there at the backside. So this should push us up and over. It's a little bit slow. So before we do anything else, let's grab one of these guys and actually boost him up to 63. Just to give us a little bit more pace. Because we want it to ease over there. But we don't want it to go so slow that it just doesn't work out for the overall pacing. We get a little bit of that spike there, which is fine. That's what we want. With that somewhat stronger boost. Still a little slow there, but not awful. Let's see how we're doing on the rest of this. Actually, let's grab our train so we can kind of see what we're doing speed-wise. Pacing pretty well as it goes along. Still at 45 here. We got our station pass. We go up and underneath, hitting those brakes before we're going to launch again, and that will free up the second one. That clears at a good speed right there. Let's see how it takes this roll. Quick, but not too fast. Then we have a couple little elements here. Up and over this twisted airtime hill. Then we would have a brake run there, and we have it actually slow down here in the brakes. So like I said, the brake run would be the only complaint here, potentially, is something a little bit longer, but I think it works out okay. And then, really in the end, we're just going with our orange and teal scheme, and then this guy over here gets our orange and teal scheme. And so there you go. Let's see how long this is. Okay, so rating-wise, we're doing all right, actually. Not that I typically pay attention to that. We're at 5,200 feet, so we are a fair bit longer than QDude's layout. So while I did say that one was long, mine's even longer. And kind of like I said from the beginning, these are almost 2 standalone rides. Like, you could take this guy right where the train is here and land him down into a brake run and turn him around and run a 2-train version of this, and it would be just fine. That would be plenty of space. Likewise, you could probably do it with this, maybe with a little more on there, but still, it's long, and you always want to be a little bit careful with those sorts of things. But we'll call this essentially the Velocicoaster of Premier coasters, so we'll go with that. A nice long coaster that sort of has a pretty substantial layout. So as we did last time, I will show an example with a little bit of theming. So I did take a stab at this ahead of time. And here we are with some of this surf theming, trying to bring this all together. Couple things here. I tried to throw in this water splash element here, copying what was done on the launch track before we got our second launch out over the water. So sort of 2 bodies of water, bringing in a pathway with some great viewing area, and a sort of thatch Polynesian-y station, some nice colored awnings, a gift shop. One of the things was trying to figure out where the transfer track goes. On Icebreaker, it's right off of the front of the switch track, so it makes sense. Reuses the switch track. You're not having to pay for another switch. So that doesn't really work here because we've got track kind of every which way. So what I did is kind of pulled it over here to the backside and put a switch track here so we can fill both sections. Oh, and on the spike here, I removed those sections. And if you want to see how that's done, basically what we're doing here is we know that it is these 4 tiles. So you'll pop open your tile inspector, and you know that it's the tallest one, so we're going to check this box here, and it's only going to be like this if you're on the developed version, the newest with the new save format. Otherwise, there'll be an insert null object up here, so you want to take those first 2 only and make them invisible, and then you've got this sort of eased spike, so it's a little bit beyond vertical, but not too much. Anyway, it's lightly themed. You could definitely go more. You can do a little bit more with it, but we do have the queue wrapping all around. You could do a pretty nice entry icon here or on this kind of center island and really make it your own. This was actually a first layout attempt that I had put together, and I talked to Andrew about it, and we said, well, it's nice and it has that kind of premiere feel and flowing layout, but it really doesn't accomplish the same thing that we went out to, as far as it doesn't quite match what QDude put together for his, at least from the L shape and kind of the same idea. We do have the 2 launches and everything else. So while I did sort of like how this was done, and I like the second launch gear by the station, it's not quite doing the same thing. So to kind of fit more towards the goal of this whole program, we're gonna do that. Actually, I don't know why that didn't make it, but I did like this roll over top of the station. But anyway, that is our layout here. And actually, if you go back into his map and you overlay it in there, it does fit. There's a couple of different ways you can rotate it around, but this is an option. Certainly, if you're into hacking and things, or if you're not into hacking or things like that, then you may want to just stick with a single launch straight out of the station, which might be a little bit easier rather than the swing launch. You may not do the custom trains, perhaps, and things like that, but this is an option for more kind of custom play if you're looking for that. But anyway, that is it for today's. Thanks again to QDude24 for submitting this layout. We've gotten a lot of great submissions. If you'd like to submit your own, email it to fixmycoasterlayout@gmail.com. The link is down below in the description, and we will get to it. Now, we've gotten a lot of submissions so far, so we might not get to it right away, and it might take a little bit of time, but we are happy for the reaction and the success, and thank you for those who commented on our first video. It was good to see the reception so far, and we're looking to continue to grow this little endeavor and make it even bigger. So next time out, we'll pick a new layout and go through that. We'll also review what Andrew put together for his version of this layout, which again I expect to be quite different and maybe more suited for scenario play than mine was. So you'll have to wait and see for that one, but we will be back again with episode 3 next time around. So until next time, and on behalf of Andrew from MickanMan's RCT station and myself, thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye now.